The United States is ordering up the National Guard to go down to our southern border to help secure things.
Current border security and immigration laws fail the American people. Border security is national security.
City Council in Escondido, California voted to support the lawsuit filed by the Department of Justice against the state of California's sanctuary laws.
Giving illegal criminals more rights than our citizens is illegal, is immoral, is insane, and yes, is unconstitutional.
The president's comments a couple of days ago about Syria, he said he would like to get out as quickly as possible.
We have enormous strategic risk that we endure by keeping our troops there, and there's almost no upside.
One proud gun owner makes a passionate plea to his city council to take a stand.
What I want to know is, when are you all going to start standing up for the majority? And here's who the majority is. I'm the majority.
Practice swing. He only needs to swing it. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yes, yes, yes!
Good time. Oh, we having a good time. Yeah, I've been working.
Well, you know, when we were watching that clip from the Masters, Brian, I am reminded it was 2 years ago this week that somebody went to the Masters and brought us back Masters caps.
I know.
Really?
I need to go back
Ainsley.
just to get
Ainsley brought you back a cap.
I don't remember that.
remember
I did not know that. I totally blanked. I don't know.
You've been wearing it?
I'm not a big cap guy.
You need to switch with Steve then, because remember I passed him out, and then we looked at yours, and there was a little stain, a little dot, and I said, oh, I didn't see this in the store when I bought it.
Listen, I wear it all the time. I'm going to be wearing it when I make some pimento cheese a little later on today with the Wonder Bread.
Cheese is great.
All right. Meanwhile, the president has just tweeted, you know what our number one story is? The president's decided to put his National Guard at the border. Really a response to that caravan of 1,500 that was heading our direction. He tweeted this out. The caravan is largely broken up thanks to the strong immigration laws of Mexico and their willingness to use them as so as to not cause the giant scene at the border, although some are still making their way here. Because of the Trump administration's actions, border crossings are still unacceptable, 46-year low. Stop the drugs. And we know most of the drugs are coming from the southern border. They're not necessarily manufactured there, but they're picked up there. But you know what? The Mexican Senate is pressuring President Nieto to come out strong against President Trump to say, don't let him push us around.
So who won, though? Was it the trade with the United States and the potential NAFTA deal, which the president used as leverage a couple of days ago? Or is it the Mexican senators? Obviously, the trade with their largest trading partner meant a lot, and that's why the Mexican government essentially cracked down on them. And now a number of people in that caravan have sought asylum in Mexico. Some more are going to come back, and some others were actually sent back to Honduras.
That's exactly right. But there are a few, more than a few probably, that are going to try to make their way up to the United States, and that's why the president yesterday signed that proclamation, which means that the National Guard will be sent there immediately. And Kristen Nielsen, who's Homeland Security Secretary, she is meeting with the Department of Defense and with these governors along the border. The only one who hasn't agreed to meet is the governor of California, shocker. But she and the others are meeting with all of them to try to come up with a plan, a coordination to make it safer, because the president did not get them all the funding for the wall. So instead of...
He got that much.
That's right. He wanted $25 billion. He got $1.6 billion.
Do you realize how this sets up leverage for September when they have to get the rest of the money? He is not going to budge if he does not get border wall money.
Well, you know what they're talking about doing? They're talking about for the president to essentially rescind a portion of the budget. In other words, and that would only take a majority vote, 51 votes. What they would do is they would go in and they would say, you know what, we spent way too much in this department. Let's cut it back to this. And there, you know, apparently the president has been talking to different cabinet people and people throughout Congress. That could actually happen, which would be good for him, because there are a lot of Republicans who are disappointed in Republicans that they just went crazy and blew so much dough.
Well, the I don't know why I can't say this. Homeland Security Secretary Kristen Nielsen, she had her press conference yesterday, and she was saying that they understand the loopholes down in Mexico and South America. That they understand that if we put our rules, the catch and release plan, and she's also saying that they're telling immigrants when they come to the U.S., bring children with you because you have more of a chance of seeking asylum and getting asylum in the U.S.
Yep, here she is talking yesterday.
Our current border security and immigration laws fail the American people. The system rewards bad behavior. It does not punish lawbreakers. Unfortunately, time and time again, Congress has failed to act. We will not allow illegal immigration levels to become the norm. Violating our sovereignty as a nation will never be acceptable to this president.
So she's going to be with us just about 20 minutes from right now. It's interesting. There's an item in the Wall Street Journal today. We know that the U.S. military got $800 billion or something like that in the budget. There's some suggestion that military bases down along our southern border could actually build the wall. And it talks about the Barry Goldwater, I believe, Air Force Base bombing range shares a portion of the wall. They could build 30 miles worth of wall right there using the military money rather than any of the other
That's interesting because we haven't heard the president mentioned that he could use the military money when he didn't get the funding specifically for
Well,
the
maybe
wall.
that's what they're talking about.
Well, the only problem is the military actually needs that money because we're seeing everything, all the challenges.
Well, they asked for X amount of dollars, but didn't the government give them even more than that?
I think
did.
Over 15% more than they wanted, and that's why they're talking about rescinding, doing these rescissions going forward. All right, meanwhile, let's take you to North Carolina, Greensboro, down in North Carolina. For years, they've had the gun and knife show. And there was some debate, given what had happened in Parkland, Florida, a little more than a month ago. Maybe they should cancel it.
Right. So the city council had a discussion about that, and some of the people who live in that community were not too happy. This is one of those individuals, Mr. Mark Robinson. Listen to this.
Heard a whole lot of people in here talking tonight about this group and that group, and domestic violence and blacks, these minorities and that minority. What I want to know is, when are you all going to start standing up for the majority? And here's who the majority is. I'm the majority. I'm a law-abiding citizen who's never shot anybody. It seems like every time we have one of these shootings, nobody wants to put the blame where it goes, which is at the shooter's feet. You want to put it at my feet. It does not make any sense. The law-abiding citizens of this community and many communities around this country, we're the first ones taxed and the last ones considered and the first ones punished when things like this happens.
So you're trying to do a gun and knife show. These are people that want to buy them legally, who don't have a history because they're going to pass a background check, and because of what happened elsewhere with lunatics and criminals and murderers, he gets punished.
His point is they're criminals. He goes on to talk about the Crips and the Bloods, that they're not getting rid of their guns.
No.
They're still going to have their guns. They're criminals. They're not going to follow the law. But the government is talking about law-abiding citizens getting rid of their guns. So what? They're going to get rid of their guns. That man is going to get rid of his gun. Some guy's going to break into his house. He can't defend his family, but yet the criminal has the gun.
We're trying to get that fella to be on the show tomorrow, but clearly this is somebody who has watched from afar what is going on in certain communities, and he has just had it up to here. And when given the chance to speak out, boy, did he. We asked you what you thought about his comments, and Facebook has lit up.
Edward said what, Brian?
Well, Angel, I'll take it from here. This is the answer we are looking for. A very well-spoken, educated American who can get his point across. Please listen to this guy.
And Alyssa says what, Steve?
She says, in a country where so much ignorance is running amok, it is so refreshing to hear your very well-spoken and passionate words, Mr. Robinson. I thank you on behalf of the rest of the majority for having the courage to speak up. And finally, Ainsley, what did Jeannie say on Facebook?
She said, well, finally, someone said exactly what I've said all along. If you take my right away, the criminals will still have guns. More people need to stand up.
Have you ever thought of emailing the show and see if your email gets on? We should try that.
No,
Ainsley
that would
from
not
New
be
York
right.
City. Okay, I'm sorry.
He went on to say, I'm going to continue to go down to City Hall and raise hell like he referred to them as the loonies from the left until you listen to the majority of the people in the city. I am the majority.
I love that guy. Imagine being a robber and breaking into his house.
Right.
Ooh.
Talk about someone who's ever been described as a loony from the left. Jillian is with us now.
Just a loony, but not a loony from the
not
left.
from the left, not at all.
Good morning to you guys. We do have some news to get to, starting with this Fox News alert. A U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds pilot is dead after crashing during a training flight outside Las Vegas. The identity of that pilot is still unknown. This is the third military aviation crash in 48 hours. On Tuesday, 4 people were killed when a Marine Corps helicopter crashed in California. And on the same day in Djibouti, a military jet crashed shortly after takeoff. The pilot ejected safely.
Embattled EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt facing off with our own Ed Henry, defending himself against controversial pay raises for friends after the White House refused to sign off on them.
So somebody being fired for that?
That should not have been done. And
So who did it?
It may be there would be some accountability.
A career person or a political person?
I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know? You run the
who else
agency. You don't know who did? President Trump said he would drain the swamp.
I don't. Look,
Is draining the swamp renting an apartment from the wife of a Washington lobbyist?
I don't think that that's even remotely fair to ask that question.
And Fox News has just learned EPA officials ruling that Pruitt did nothing wrong after renting a condo in D.C. from a lobbyist for just $50 a night. During that time, Pruitt allegedly approved a project for one of the lobbyist companies. Turning now to extreme weather. It's April, but Mother Nature doesn't know that. Spring is still nowhere to be found in parts of the U.S. 3 separate systems could bring more snow to the Midwest and East Coast into the weekend. I don't know why I'm smiling. Crews in Minneapolis bundling up at Target Field, shoveling snow ahead of the Twins home opener today. The city already slammed with record-breaking snow and cold this month. The 82nd Masters tees off in Augusta, Georgia today, and all eyes will be on the return of Tiger Woods. But the grandson of legendary golfer Jack Nicklaus already stealing the show.
Swing. He only needs to swing about 120. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yes, yes, yeah!
Oh, how exciting. That's Gary Nicklaus Jr. hitting his first career hole-in-one during the par 3 tournament while caddying for his grandfather. But this hole-in-one celebration goes horribly wrong. Watch.
Hit it! Whoa, don't hurt yourself.
Oh, gosh. Tony Finau dislocating his ankle, but pops it right back in, continues on to play 2 more holes. I just checked to see a latest update. He is going for an MRI this morning, and reports say that even if it's positive, he's still going to try to play. So
It's the Masters.
he tees off at 12:43. We'll see.
We'll be watching.
Yes.
Wow. Guy's an Iron Man. He dislocates it and just pops it right back in.
I mean, maybe a lot of people knew who he was. I didn't know who he was before. Now we do.
Now everybody knows who he is.
Yeah, now I'm pulling for him.
So it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
For him to backpedal and turn his
So
ankle.
that Ainsley could know who he
Yeah,
was.
so you know he is.
Thank you, Jillian.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, tempers flaring overnight as another city in California votes to take a stand against the state's sanctuary laws. Did you see this?
I came to this country 45 years ago with me and my mother. We were not offered sanctuary. We were told you have to be an American citizen and here's what you have to do. And we did it.
Griff Jenkins was in that auditorium. He's live with a report from California next.
And are you ready to rock the boat? Dwayne Johnson just dropped his biggest hint yet about perhaps running for president. Vin Diesel probably won't vote for him, but he'll still do it.
Breaking overnight, another California city taking a stand against the state's sanctuary law.
Escondido, California, voting to support the Trump administration's lawsuit against California after a fiery council meeting last night.
Griff Jenkins was there, and he joins us live with more. Griff?
Good morning, guys. Governor Jerry Brown has a problem on his hands because the people of California are fighting back against his sanctuary laws. Escondido, just the latest. It was a heated council meeting over 3 hours. It was a 4-1 vote to join the Trump administration lawsuit. Here's how it went down.
They can no longer divide us because we have been fighting for way too long. When you crossed our border, you became illegal and you became a criminal.
By deporting my family, is that the reward I get for my hard work? We're talking about tearing families apart. This is a very real thing.
It breaks my heart to see all the hatred in the room. The mainstream media is at fault because they demonize anyone who's against any type of immigration.
If you want to be an American, you must come to the country.
There is nothing in the Constitution that says that one rogue state can make policies that affect the whole nation.
I like Jerry Brown. I wish he was the president.
What we really need to do, or perhaps Washington and the state leadership needs to do, is sit down and have thoughtful discussions about what is the right solution. what's not only legal, but what's also compassionate.
I came to this country 45 years ago with me and my mother, okay? 45 years ago, we were not offered sanctuary. We were not offered an easier, softer way, okay? We were told you have to be an American citizen, and here's what you have to do. And we did it.
Please vote to support the motion.
4 yes votes.
This is the right thing to do. You know, I was elected mayor to keep the Constitution, to uphold the Constitution, and to keep our community safe. I am committed to do that, and that's what the council did today.
Escondido is the first city in San Diego County to take such an action. But take a look at this list, guys. It is the 6th to really fight back. You have, starting with Yorba Linda, Los Alamitos, Orange County, we saw last week. This week, Huntington Beach. On Tuesday, San Juan Capistrano voting to condemn SB 54. And now Escondido, all because they feel that it is hurting their communities, making them less safe because law enforcement cannot do their jobs, cutting down the communication between the federal ICE officials and their local law enforcement. Now, San Diego County will vote on April 17th to possibly take action. We'll see what they say. I'm going to talk to some of their supervisors later today, and we'll continue to track this growing story, which means trouble for Governor Jerry Brown and Attorney General Xavier Becerra. Guys,
drive up to Sacramento, talk to the governor. I want to hear his point of view because the people in Southern California don't like this. Thank you, Griff.
Good for them, though. They've had enough.
They
Sick
have.
of it. Thank
All right.
you.
Meanwhile, in just a couple of hours, President Trump will be heading to West Virginia for a roundtable on tax cuts. West Virginia Governor Jim Justice is going to meet the president, but first, he's going to join us live with a conversation with Brian on the other side of a timeout.
Plus, Rob Reiner slamming the Roseanne reboot, calling her a mouthpiece for the president. But isn't she just representing everyday Americans? What's so wrong with that? Here's some quick headlines for you. In just a few hours, FCC Commissioner Jessica Rosenworth, she is going to take the hot seat on a hearing on Hawaii's false missile alert. In January, local officials mistakenly issued an incoming nuclear missile alert, sparking 38 minutes of statewide panic. The hearing will focus on what went wrong and how to fix that system. And George Washington University offering a free training session on Christian privilege today. The workshop is going to look at how American Christians experience life easier and have built-in advantages to non-Christians. The seminar also focuses on white privilege. Brian?
All right, thank you very much, Ainsley. Meanwhile, 24 minutes after the hour, GOP tax bill has given many Americans reasons to celebrate. And today, President Trump is heading to West Virginia for a roundtable discussion about those recent tax cuts. So what can we expect? Let's ask Governor of West Virginia, who's become very good friends with the president, Jim Justice, who switched parties as well. So, Governor, why do you think the president chose your state?
Well, Brian, if you could see West Virginia today and you could see all the trees starting to bud out and the sun coming up on these mountains and everything, you'd decide what other state could you possibly be in. But the president, you know, and I are great friends, and he's doing a wonderful job, and I support him in every way, shape, form, or fashion. His tax reform is really taking hold in West Virginia. West Virginia is growing at a growth rate of about 5% now, and we're doing really good things. And this is a paradise to raise your families. We're looking for a lot of people, you know, men and women, good men and women, to move and come back to West Virginia because we've got great jobs, great paying jobs. And like I said, you'd be raising your family in paradise, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, as part of that, I think the 80% of the country that's seeing more money in their paychecks on a weekly basis. And we know the biggest thing is the corporate tax rate is supposed to drop. That enables more investment here and repatriating of funds. And it's good to know that West Virginia is benefiting. The other big story is that Senator Joe Manchin, who tends to be moderate, is a Democrat. And if the president wants to get his 60 votes, he's going to have to go after Joe Manchin's seat. We know the vice president has called out Joe Manchin. Governor, have you tried to convince him to do what you did?
Well, I mean, Joe and I have had discussions along those lines, and, you know, I wish to goodness that Joe were a Republican, to tell you the truth. I mean, but to just tell it like it is, you know, Joe's got to do his thing, and I've surely got to do mine, and the president's got to do his. You know, we need Joe's vote, and to be perfectly honest, you know, this nation needs to get behind our president in a great way every day. I mean, it is phenomenal what this man has done. And the other thing I would say is, you know, we made a commitment in West Virginia that was a philosophical change. You know, we made a commitment to invest in education, and I would encourage governors and everybody across this nation, be fiscally responsible. But when you have monies, when you have real monies within your state, I think we ought to really reinvest back in our kids and back into education.
Who can argue with that? I mean, no one can. We know teachers are striking. They were upset with what they were being paid in West Virginia. You guys solved that problem for now. But if you're going to have some extra money, why not put it to the teachers in the schools? Governor, thanks so much. Tell the president we said hello.
I'll do that. And Brian and Ainsley and Steve, we watch you every morning. You guys are doing a wonderful job. Thank you so much for everything.
All right, Governor. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks. That's Governor out in West Virginia. The president's going to be there in a couple hours. Meanwhile, more of the big story out of Washington. President Trump sending the National Guard to protect the border. They're on their way now. DHS Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen joins us live next to talk about the numbers and what they can and can't do. Plus, what happens when you don't check your tweet before you send it? Nancy Pelosi just found out. I guess she's talking to herself out loud, and we could all hear it.
We're waking up America and we're telling them what's going on in the world. And that is such an awesome responsibility, but it's fun. What we're trying to do is not only tell you what's going on, but the backstories.
We're able to tell the folks at home, hey, this is important to you. This is why you need to listen. We have a great, honest conversation about what's happening in the news.
When people meet us, when they see us, they feel like they know us because guess what? They do.
These are the days of America, brother to brother, hand in hand. These are the days
You know, the Homeland Security Secretary made her way through congressional leadership trying to explain to them the need to get some type of border security. And she thought she made her message clear, but when the omnibus came out and there wasn't sufficient money for the wall, she had to go to a plan B.
Wait a minute. Are you speaking for the woman who's actually standing by live in our nation's capital? There she is, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Kirstjen Nielsen. We thank you very much for joining us live today.
Good morning.
My pleasure. Good morning.
So what's the deal with the National Guard? How many? How soon? Where's the money coming from?
Okay, so let's take them in order here. The way this process works, as you might know, is we work with the governors and we work with the National Guard Bureau. So the idea here is to choose the different mission sets that the National Guard can perform to help our Border Patrol. So we have a variety of recommendations that we've made. We've started the negotiations. I've spoken with all the governors. I'll speak with them again today. But this is not, the idea here, of course, is for this to be effective and productive and supportive of our mission. So we are interested in what the governors think the answer is, those on the ground, certainly my agents and officials, and of course the Guard Bureau. So we're working on that negotiation as we speak.
So you said you've talked to all the governors. Did you talk to Governor Jerry Brown in California?
I did. I spoke with him yesterday. We sent him some information with respect to our best advice as how we could use the Guard to support our mission, and I said that's a beginning of a conversation. Then the men and women on the front lines, if you will, whether they be state employees or federal employees, usually have a much better grasp of what we need. So we're doing this as an iterative conversation.
Madam Secretary, let me ask something. If he doesn't use his National Guard, can you get National Guard from another state and use it on the border since it's their state but it's our country?
Yeah, and I understand the question. What I would say is I will be speaking with the governor again today. He has supported such use of the use in support of the Border Patrol in the past. As you know, we've done this at least twice in the last 10 decades. So I'd like to have further conversations with him before I jump ahead of him and how he would like to secure his border.
Sure. When you had the conversation with Governor Jerry Brown, did you talk about the fact that it seems like a lot of Southern California is turning against him and his sanctuary state policies?
You know, we only touched briefly on sanctuary states to agree that we would talk about it again, but we didn't actually spend a lot of time. What I wanted to make sure that he does understand is from a border security perspective, you know, we have drugs flowing over, we have a lot of TCO activity, we have criminals, and then of course we have illegal migrants. And so working with him to address all those is really what we talked about.
I know that other administrations have done this in the past. You mentioned that President Obama, George W. Bush did this as well. Did it help? Is that why you've decided to send the National Guard down there? Exactly what are they going to be doing, and did it help in the past?
So in conjunction, in my conversations with the governors and some members of Congress over the last 48 hours, it's certainly their strong belief that, in fact, it made a huge difference. And in some cases, they believe that it immediately ended all of the illegal traffic. So I think we have good case studies that it works. To your second question, what would they be doing? Operation Phalanx, as you know, was a way in which the National Guard could provide air support. So we'd be looking for them to do that. They help provide medical care for those that we do interdict. They'd help us do fleet maintenance. You know, we need a lot of mechanics to use in that terrain. So it's a lot of support functions that will free up the Border Patrol to do what they do best, which is enforce border laws.
You know, it's a little disappointing, though. I guess by law, you're not allowed to arrest illegal immigrants. You're not allowed to investigate crimes, make arrests, stop or search vehicles, or seize drugs. That's very limiting, don't you think? Or can you change any of that?
We have everything on the table. I can assure you we're looking at every way in which we can act in the executive branch. But I really will continue to ask Congress to please work with me in the next couple months to pass legislation. Some of the things you just described are absolutely a result of loopholes in our system. They probably were never meant to be there. I never talk to a senator or congressman who doesn't tell me that they're in favor of border security. So now is the time to fix it. Let's get together and put forward a legislative proposal that can pass.
You talked yesterday in the press conference about some of these loopholes, and you said that they know about our loopholes and they're taking advantage of it, like catch and release. We've been told that the president could end catch and release with an executive order. He doesn't need Congress to help him. If that's the case, is he going to do that?
Yeah, so he, you know, on one hand, he's already done that. Catch and release is a very broad concept. What it meant specifically when this president took office was the practice of the previous administration when they apprehended somebody who is not a criminal or who is not on the top of their list, they would release them. So they would catch and release. President Trump was very firm the moment he got into office to end that. He did that through executive order. We do not do that. We enforce all immigration laws now at the Department of Homeland Security. The second kind of catch and release, though, is based on a court case. It's a loophole in our system. It requires us to release family units that we interdict after 20 days. That we are working to see if we have authority in the executive branch to change, but it has always been part of our legislative process, and that would be the best way to do it. Congress is the ones who make immigration law, as you know, so we need their help here.
Sure. Secretary Nielsen, there's an anti-sanctuary push now, as Ainsley kind of touched on, through California. Many were stunned that a governor would make a sanctuary state. Many were stunned inside California, and these counties seem to be standing up one by one saying this is not okay with me. Where do you stand? How much does it mean to our governance, our country's security for you to win this case against California?
Well, to me, I think it means a lot. But the reason might not be what you think. The reason is because there are so many misperceptions about a sanctuary city. So if you bear with me, I'll answer your first question by telling you how I think about it. Sanctuary cities, the concept began many, many years ago to protect illegal aliens who were victims of crime. That's how the concept started. It then became perverted over time, and now the sanctuary is for the criminals. So I think you've heard many administrations say this, but I'll say it again because it's true. When we cannot arrest those criminal aliens within a safe setting, such as a jail, we have to send our agents and officers into the field. It puts them in danger. It's no longer a controlled environment. But it also, very importantly, puts the illegal, but otherwise legal, meaning they haven't committed any crimes after the illegal entry. It puts them in danger because now we're taking a potential violent situation into their communities. So I am always open to having this conversation. I did have this conversation conversation with some of the governors that I spoke to when we were talking about the National Guard. Everybody wants anybody who's a victim of a crime to be able to report it.
Absolutely.
So we're not trying to chill that. That's not the intent. We will help states message on that. But I can't imagine anybody deciding that their first and foremost job as an executive leader is not to protect the safety of their cities. This does not do that.
Well, ultimately, it does turn some of those cities into magnets for people who are in the country illegally for a variety of reasons. Madam Secretary, just about 90 minutes ago, the guy who lives in the big house behind you did some tweeting. He said the caravan, talking about going across Mexico a few days ago, is largely broken up thanks to the strong immigration laws of Mexico and their willingness to use them so as not to cause a giant scene at the border. Because of the Trump administration's actions, border crossings are at a still unacceptable 46-year low. Stop drugs. You know, to the casual observer, it does look as if the president's tweets a couple of days ago about why isn't Mexico doing anything about this actually helped stop it.
I think the president is clear. He has been clear. He will continue to be clear. He made a commitment to the American people to secure our border. He's going to do that. I myself have been in conversations with my Mexican counterparts over the last 2 weeks. Together, we have had discussions on the caravan. The caravan, as you say, is dissipating. It's a yearly caravan. This is usually what happens. But having said that, we have seen more cooperation from Mexican officials than we ever have before on this particular caravan, thanks to the president's leadership.
Lastly, Madam Secretary, you went around painstakingly and met with leadership before the omnibus was passed. It's as if they didn't listen, Republicans and Democrats. What did you want? What didn't you get?
It's a good question. I think the most frustrating, it would be hard to pick just one, but let me pick two. The two most frustrating, we have men and women in the Border Patrol that have been part of protecting our border for decades, well before 9/11, well before the Homeland Security Department was created. These men and women have done assessments after assessments over the year. They understand the flows, the traffic patterns, the danger, and what works in terms of impedance and denial. So I was very disappointed that Congress chose, rather than listening to the experts, to tell us and tell the experts where and how we can build the wall. To me, that's not their job. It's the job of the operators who live and breathe that every day in conjunction with the local communities. So that would be my first. My second is bed space. I mean, we all know the only way to enforce immigration law is once I interdict somebody, I can remove them. And if I can't do that, I need to be able to detain them until I can remove that. And if I can't do that, we no longer have border security. So given the numbers we had last month, they just came out, 50,000 in April is the number that we interdicted or otherwise was inadmissible. That is a 200% increase from March of 2017. This crisis is real. There are many more people coming to take advantage of these loopholes and are being trained by the smugglers.
Well, that's one of the reasons the National Guard is heading down south sooner than later. All right, Secretary Nielsen, thank you very much for joining us live today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too.
All right, 17 minutes before the top of the hour, Rob Reiner slamming Roseanne Barr, calling her a mouthpiece for the president. But isn't she just representing a lot of everyday blue-collar Americans? What's wrong with that? A discussion comes up next.
And he covers everything from breaking news to entertainment. But this morning, Adam Housley and his wife, Tamara, they are cooking with friends.
Good morning. Hope you're having a good day so far. Back with some quick headlines. Looks like House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi may have hit the send button a little bit too soon. The California Democrat accidentally tweeting this draft, reminding herself to, quote, tag officials and tax march. It's for an event she's expected to attend, calling attention to the GOP's tax plan, which she's referred to as crumbs. Pelosi has since deleted the tweet. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson fueling more speculation about a White House run. The actor and WWE legend tweeting Rolling Stone magazine he's in no hurry, but he has been taking under-the-radar meetings with political experts, saying, quote, Republicans, Democrats, independents, mayors, strategists, you name it, just soaking in and listening. I feel like the best thing I can do now is give me years, let me go to work and learn. So look at your headlines, see what happens there. Guys, down to you.
Right, and also in that story, he's got a big rivalry with Vin Diesel, and I don't think these two can patch it up.
Okay.
Are you over
And that's
that?
all we have to say about that.
Right, I guess so. All right. I'm trying to show you that I read the entertainment page as
I
well.
didn't see any of the Vin Diesel movies.
Right.
I didn't.
Speaking of the world of entertainment, the big news last week was that Roseanne Barr, her reboot of her longtime sitcom, showed up on ABC. 25 million watched last week. At least 15 million have watched this week, and they got to calculate.
They already renewed it.
Yeah, they did for an 11th season. So anyway, just the fact that she has been pro-Donald Trump in the past, and there was some give and take on pro-Trump stuff in the season premiere. Rob Reiner was on MSNBC, and he sees what her show represents as something very troubling.
You have the star of the show essentially outside the show trumpeting all of the things that Donald Trump stands for. So it's not like you can separate in television. I mean, there's room for a red state, blue state show. Certainly those arguments are going on around dinner tables all over the country. But when you take the main character and that person is a personification of Trump's point of view, then that puts that idea forward.
Well, Roseanne is the person, but there's a back and forth the entire time. So here's what you say about Rob Reiner's critique.
This is from Keith. He says Rob Reiner's attack on Fox and Roseanne convinces middle America that he is still a meathead. That was his name in All in the Family.
Josette emailed us, somebody should tell Rob Reiner that calling somebody a lunatic is like calling them a deplorable, and it didn't work out for the left.
Yeah, I just don't understand this point. What is Hollywood afraid of, Barbara says? One show out of the hundreds that doesn't totally bash the president.
There you go.
I think success leaves clues. I don't know if this is just incidental, but I watched George Stephanopoulos on ABC. Even his panel was more, even his panel was more balanced last week. I'm wondering if that's the message from the network.
Hopefully, because America, that's exactly like Roseanne. That's what our families look like. It shows both sides.
Keep the comments coming. We read them all day. In the meantime, straight ahead, he covers everything from breaking news to entertainment news on Fox and News Channel. But this morning, Adam Housley and his wife, Tamara, are cooking with friends. Good morning to both of you.
Right, and if we have any left, we'll bring it to Sandra Smith. She's going to be doing her show for 2 hours with Bill Hemmer. Hey, Sandra.
Sounds delicious. Good morning, everybody. Well, President Trump sending the National Guard to the southern border immediately in response to what the administration calls an unacceptable flow of drugs and illegal immigrations. He has signed a proclamation to do so. We'll see where this goes. The White House will be joining us in moments with an update. Plus, we are now learning Mark Zuckerberg will testify in 2 open hearings on the Hill next week as 87 million users' data has been exposed. And how about those markets? Looks like a higher open on Wall Street this morning during what has been a wild week for stocks. We're all over it for you. Join us. America's Newsroom begins in moments.
Well, he covers everything from breaking news. There he is out at location.
Covering the fire, remember?
To entertainment stories for Fox News. But today, Adam Housley is cooking with friends and his better half.
Well, thank you. Joining us now is our Fox News senior correspondent, Adam Housley, along with his wife, actress, talk show host, Tamara Mallory Housley. We grew up watching you, and now you're on The Real. You're doing such a great job.
Yes, oh my gosh. And we got nominated for an Emmy this year, The Real, and we won our first NAACP Image Award. So we're coming on up. It's been a lot of fun.
Who gets the trophy if you win?
All of us do,
You all
of
get one.
course. Yes.
Aiden, our son.
Yes.
I've seen you on the show before.
Yeah,
and
that's fun.
And you have 2 kids.
2 kids. We have a 5-year-old, Aiden. He's amazing. And then we have a 2.5-year-old, Araya, a little girl. I'm done, though. Shop is closed.
Well, you get
Shop's
that big
closed.
house, you need something to eat. And today, this is something new. We've never done branzino.
Right.
Never. Okay. It's one of my favorite fish that Adam actually
We both cook
makes.
actually.
Yes, but you cook fish
I do
better
the
than I
fish.
do. I tried.
I'm like the chopped cook where I just find stuff and make it.
I'm a recipe girl.
So
it's healthy.
Right, it's healthy, but it's fantastic. You can cook it inside or outside. So I always use avocado oil.
Yes.
Over
first cut off the head, right?
Well, clearly, I usually leave the
Well,
head
some
on,
people
but
like to eat
you can leave the
them,
head or
and
tail
some
on.
people I don't.
And you can get it like if you go in the store, you get it sliced down the middle and all taken, pre-clean. And then we put a lot of avocado oil. I mean, you can use sparingly, inside and out with it.
Yes.
All right. It's great again for the oven or for the barbecue, which we tend to barbecue a lot out in California. California.
And we do have rosemary growing in our garden.
Of course you do.
Yes, Adam's really good at
Lemon.
Stuff it, you stuff it
Stuff with lemon.
lemons
Yes.
and the rosemary?
Yep, lemon, rosemary. They also take over I do chopped. I love chopped garlic. You can't go wrong with garlic. And again, it's also
All right,
sparingly.
so stuff all that in it.
All of it in it. And then you add some, obviously, rosemary, sea salt, and pepper.
Sea salt is great.
Is this why you've partnered with Febreze? Because you
Yes,
cook
because
fish?
yes. Well,
We
let
love
me tell
fish.
you, I love fish, but I don't like the after
smell.
and
Right.
Adam knows that. So I'm
Right.
really excited because I partnered with
smells good.
Febreze.
Brian
Yes,
smells better with
it's
that.
amazing. But you know what, you guys, I love using
These new
Febreze one.
containers.
Yes, one because there are no aerosols, there are no heavy perfumes or
these
dyes.
flavors.
Exactly.
Which is great when you have children around.
You don't
know,
wanna go
'cause
out
it safely
smelling like
cleans away those
trout.
odors.
No.
All right,
Or
we're
Branzino.
gonna put this in the oven. We're gonna
Yes,
taste
how
it
long?
in
Right.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Two
We'll be
minutes.
right back.
2 and 2.